Who came up with the idea of doing a car show about Mickey and friends?
Well, Mark and I had both produced Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and that was 10 years ago. Since then, we've done a few shows, and Disney Junior came to us and said, we'd like to do another Mickey show. What should we do? So we kind of looked at what the most popular shows were from Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and the most popular show was Mickey's Road Rally. It was about a show where they all had little vehicles or cars or scooters, and we thought, well, that might be fun because we love cars. We grew up loving cars, drawing cars, and going to car shows, and that was pretty much the seed of the idea.
And then we thought it would be fun to make Mickey a race car driver and run a garage, and that all his friends would have cars that would transform into hot smoking hot rods.
If you look back at the history of films and animation, there's a very fascination of American audiences with cars.
Yeah.
So what do you think is that?
Well, the wide open spaces of America, brand new roads, So, I think that really was it.
Yeah.
That they put a lot of effort in highways and freeways and long distances. So I think, and it was I think people love to tinker with gears and mechanical things. So when cars started to be manufactured, I think people really thought, how can we make these faster? How can we make these cooler? It's a whole culture now of car culture.
And the designing of cars is a real art form. And back especially when we were growing up in the 50s and the 60s, there were all sorts of futuristic designs being done. And so we're very much inspired by that. And so, on our show, we wanted to make sure that the personalities of the characters were reflected in the car. And that's why a lot of the designs came out the way they look on screen now.
Yeah.
How would you describe the aesthetics of the Mickey's world now? Because it's very different, and you also have vintage cars, not modern cars, but you also have this town which is like suburbs, but also a city. So
yeah, we wanted to give them a place to live, not just his garage. When we were doing Clubhouse, it got a little lonely. It was just the clubhouse, So we made it a city that's kind of has a cartoony feel to it, but yet it's a homey little town, very comfortable little town, but has everything: bridges, water, everything for good stories, down the line, to give ideas to the writers and to the animators, So we tried to incorporate everything from the garage to the Happy Helper's office, where that's located, and it was fun. It was fun to come up with a whole world,
And it is a very modern world. I mean, we see Mickey and his friends using cell phones and iPads.
We wanted to relate to the kids at home, not just have cartoony, big, stupid telephones and like they wouldn't even know what they were. Well, kids today, like a phone is just a square, So it's fun incorporating and updating Mickey and the gang. They've been around for 80 years. So
you mentioned before that the Mickey's car is like a customized T model.
Yeah.
So why do you choose to go that vintage route?
Well, when Mickey was first being animated in 1929, 1930. Was the time when the Model T was coming out. Everybody could afford one here in America, and so parts of them were readily available, and the cars themselves were easy to work on. So teenagers would take them, chop them up, and make them into cool hot rods. How do we make it faster? How do we make it better cornering, going around turns? So they made hot rods. So we thought, what better car for Mickey than a Model T based hot rod,
Well, and Goofy being Goofy, we gave him a bathtub on wheels with a working shower head, so he could race and take a bath at the same time.
Yeah, he could have had a Ferrari, but he chose a bathtub. So.
And then Donald's a sailor, so we gave him a boat on wheels Daisy loves flowers, so we gave her a smoking dragster called Snapdragon that has a flower spoiler on the back.
Minnie being, feminine and international, we gave her a French car from the 1930s, very designy, swoopy lines to it that reminded us of her bow that she has in her hair. So we went with that, a car called a Delahaye from 1930. So yeah, that really fit her personality, very well. And of course, we made it pink.
And you visited Jay Lenos Garage for that, right?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. We were when coming up with ideas for the show. We visited a lot of car collections around California, and then we got invited to come to see Jay Leno's car collection, and that was really, he gave us the tour of all of his cars, and with all the stories that he had for each car, it gave our designers ideas for future ideas for cars, or the characters' cars. Donald's car was inspired by his collection.
And we were very impressed with the look of his garage. It's decorated with posters, and there's toy model cars all over the place. And we used a lot of that for our inspiration for Mickey's garage.
Mm-hmm. Did you put a lot of Easter eggs in the series, because there's 28?
Oh yes.
Well, the numbers.
Yeah,
the numbers of the cars.
There are little surprise. There's little surprise things. You'll see a little Mickey head occasionally, like built into a pattern, or it's fun to. We do that for ourselves, but we always hope that the audience catches a few of those little things in there. Yeah, the number 28 on Mickey's car stands for
1928 when
Yes.
Walt created him.
Walt
Minnie has an 89. That's because this year she's 89 years old. So there's little things like that. And also, Mickey's very first words were hot dog. And so that's why it's called Hot Dog Hills.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, and that's why his car is called a hot diggity.
Well, it's the hot dog and hot rod.
The hot dog and hot rod. Yeah. So so we try to incorporate all of those things that mean a lot to Disney and to Mickey.
And you'll see a lot of Mickey shapes. For instance, when you see the freeway in an aerial view, it looks like Mickey's ears.
Yeah.
Do you think that audiences are gonna love it international, because you're going abroad in a few episodes, and are you gonna keep doing that?
We are, yeah. I think in this season we've gone to Rome and London and Paris, and Spain, of course, Madrid, and it makes us feel good doing that, because it's showing not just the American kids, foreign, that there are these wonderful cities out there in the world, but it's also for the kids who live in Madrid or Paris to see Mickey coming to their hometown and showing off their culture. So it's been a lot of fun coming up with those stories.
We see Goofy tasting different types of food, which is always great. Donald too.
Yeah.
And we hope to continue doing stories around the world. Yeah. But Mickey is a very universal character. He could be in any culture, and he's still Mickey.
Yeah.
Also, you're bringing back other characters from the 40s, maybe, because we see
we
the
are.
Three Caballeros.
Yeah, Three Caballeros we brought back, right? So
Panchito and Jose.
Yeah, they'll be coming back whenever we go to South America. We're going to be bringing them back, and we have Clarabelle, Cow, and
Pete,
Horace,
the cat.
Pete the cat. He's the villain. Horace Horsecollar. He was from the very old cartoons, and what's his?
Chip and Dale, of course. They're part of Mickey's crew.
Right. They're in the garage. Professor Von Drake. He's going to be, he comes out as like the head mechanic of the garage, coming up with ideas for new gases or new, ways to make your car faster.
And of course, Pluto's around.
Of course, Pluto.
With his tool belt. He has his own little tool belt.
He has a tool belt, yes.
Yeah. How difficult is it for you to compete with other, types of interest that children have at early age nowadays? We have a lot of technology, a lot of YouTube clips, a lot of things that the children and the parents can choose to.
Well, Mickey he's just a fun character, and I think kids really enjoy seeing what Mickey's discovering sometimes for the very first time. Mickey's like everybody's best friend, and he makes everybody feel good. So I think our audience really likes hanging out with Mickey and his friends, just like we do.
And I think, there's a lot of things kids could watch on YouTube or whatever that are maybe shorter, quicker, faster. These are stories, that we're doing. And I think just from tests that we do live with children, they are so into it and they just want to see that whole show, So I think there's competition from a lot of things, but I think they'll really stick with the show, that it's entertaining.
And children really enjoy let's say, the camaraderie of all the characters. And we're trying to promote, a sense of optimism, teamwork, loyalty to your friends, good sportsmanship.
Yeah.
And I think all kids relate to that.
Mm-hmm. In 1941, Walt Disney came to South America.
Yes.
And there's a documentary called Walt and El Grupo. Have you seen that? And maybe
Yes.
Is that an influence on parts of the show that you're going internationally?
It is. I mean, Walt Disney was always very international. Everything from filming in locations overseas and nature films. He's done more than just. He was more than just cartoons. I mean, he branched out in so many ways, and we always try to keep that spirit in our show. Being curious about other cities and other countries and other cultures.
Mm-hmm. How many episodes are this season and the next season? How many seasons are they going to be? Do you know that?
Well, right now, I mean, the first season we have, it's 26 half hours, 52 individual stories. And we're hoping to do more.
Yeah. Have you heard anything? We haven't heard. So
I saw the toys. When there are toys, it's a good sign.
Oh, yeah. Toys are a very good sign. Well, and they're selling very well, so that's a good sign.
And what's really fun for us is that, let's say a couple years ago, we were just writing and drawing these ideas, and now we're seeing actual toys that we get to put in our hands. It's really fun.
Yeah.
I think it must be very difficult to continue the Disney legacy because it's a very, you have to be exactly as Walt Disney drew it, exactly all this is personality. How difficult is that? You have a Bible. Do you have people who told you, okay, that's not Mickey would say that? Or
well, I think we know better than anybody
because
we grew up, with loving Walt Disney product and Mickey and all the gang, reading the comic books. I remember getting The Art of Walt Disney, the book, when it came out sometime in the 70s, and I digested that book word by word. So I always loved the spirit of Disney films and Disney ideas.
And we still watch all the early shorts because that's who our characters come from, or where they come from.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the best or your preferred show of all,
Of all Disney stuff? Oh boy.
Well, that's a tough
That's
one.
a tough one.
But when it comes to Mickey, I mean, I do love The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah.
I've watched that over and over again. I never get tired of that.
Mickey and the Beanstalk. There was the Big Band Concert was a cartoon that's fantastic. Made so long ago, but animated so funny. It's great stuff. And in Technicolor, Walt Disney loved to experiment with. First he put sound on Mickey. First he was silent, and then he thought what better character to try sound out on, and that's why Hot Dog Hills was named Hot Dog Hills because his first words were hot dog. And then he tried color. When color film came around, Walt Disney was the first one to spend the money to, try out Technicolor. And so he was always very experimental, and that's why I think if Walt was alive today, he'd be doing computer animation. He would have been the first one doing computer animation, and Mickey would have been his first subject because Mickey was always his first subject to try so many things.
Mm-hmm. Did you have the chance to meet him?
No.
Oh no,
No.
Kind of before our time.
Yeah, I think he died in '69 or.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah,
maybe
pretty early.
when you were like total or so.
No, I wish I did. That would have been great.
But we had the privilege of seeing his office last year.
Nice.
Over on the Disney lot,
Yeah.
And to see his desk and the original script sitting on the desk, I mean, we all got very emotional.
Yeah. Did you ever see World of Color?
Yeah.
Walt Disney's World of Color. That's how we grew up
Yeah.
knowing him, because it was him always introducing the show. So seeing that office, it was like exactly the way it was in those TV clips.
Yeah.
So that's great.
My last question. I'm a Star Wars fan. So do you work in Return of the Jedi, right?
I did.
Oh, yes.
So
I
when
did.
did you do that?
I was animating special effects and worked.
Was optical effects in that time?
Optical effects,
Yeah.
yes. I know, drawn. Yeah,
Yes.
that's why I'm drawing. Yeah, this was before computers. They were using, optical printers and all that. But at that time, they were experimenting with computer editing, non-linear video editing, and also experimenting with computer graphics. I worked on. I also have a credit on Star Trek. Wrath of Khan, and that had the very first CG computer animated special effect in it. And watching them do it, basically those were the guys that started Pixar, Ed Catmull and Alvy Ray Smith. And going down there to see, it took so long to download one individual frame. That's why I think the whole special effect is 30 seconds long.
That was for the Genesis effect?
That was the Genesis effect. It was
Yes, I
called,
remember.
Some bomb hits a planet and it becomes green and lush.
Yeah.
And seeing that, I was like, wow, computers are, they're getting good. But they couldn't do cartoons back then. And I missed doing cartoons. I was working at Lucasfilm, and drawing laser beams and, chicken walkers, those, all of these things in Return of the Jedi. But I really missed doing cartoons. So when I came back to Los Angeles, that's when Disney started the TV animation group, and I started here back then.
So any plans on doing Mickey on 2D?
Not here,
Well,
not with us.
Not at the moment, no.
Yeah, there is another Mickey project going on that's 2D, that they do shorts, I think, for Disney Channel. Yeah.
But the CG animation on Mickey and the Roadster Racers is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Every episode that comes in from the animation company, it seems like the animation just keeps on getting better and better. We couldn't be more pleased with what they've come up with.
Okay, well, thank you guys.
Okay, thank
you
you,
very much.
Sebastian.